Hello folks, welcome to the A Minute to Midnight show. This is Tony coming to you from New Zealand, and with me on the show I have Leo Hyman. I've had Leo on the show a few times now. It's been a little while since the last time you were on, Leo, but man, I've enjoyed our previous discussions, so I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on, Tony.
I'm sure it will be well worth it. Like I say, the last times we've been on have been great. So, I guess the first thing I wanted to just mention, and then you can say what you might think about it. In some previous videos, I'd talked about how the World Health Organization had been meeting, and there was a potential coup, really, to take over sovereignty of countries under pandemic guidelines. Well, so recently the World Health Organization spent about a week considering Joe Biden's 13 controversial amendments to the international health regulations, and official delegates from countries like Australia, the UK, and the US, of course, because it was Biden that pushed it, spoke in strong support of those amendments. But on Wednesday, the 25th of May, which also happened to be Africa Day, a delegate from Botswana read a statement on behalf of 47 that's African nations, members, saying they would be collectively withholding their support for the reforms, and representatives from some other countries stated that they had reservations over the proposed changes and they'd not be supporting them either. And those countries included Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, and Malaysia. And Brazil even went as far as to say it would exit the WHO entirely if this bill went forward, rather than be subject to the new amendments or subjected to them. In the end, the WHO and its supporters from the most wealthy nations were forced to back down. But a new working group was convened to make technical recommendations on the proposed amendments, which will be resubmitted along with the pandemic treaty at the 77th Health Assembly meeting in 2024. So it looks like we've possibly temporarily dodged a bullet. What are your thoughts on it?
Yes, we certainly did. And I would like to think that it has something to do with our reporting and our activism, among all of the different alternative news sites, podcasters, YouTubers. I mean, we really did a full court press on this issue for about 2 weeks leading up to the event at the end of May.
Yeah.
However, I'm not so sure that had anything to do with it. I think it's possible it had a little bit to do with it, but I think more likely it was those nations having second thoughts about giving up their sovereignty that you mentioned, Brazil in particular, India, Russia, the African delegation, Malaysia, Iran. You ticked them all off there. And, who would have thought, Tony, that we would owe it to the Russians and the mullahs of Iran to help at least delay this significant strengthening of the enforcement powers of the World Health Organization. And I really think that this is the plan, at least the plan that was on the table. We'll see how they make their next move. But as far as we know, the plan that was on the table was to basically bring in the one world government through the health avenue, through the avenue of people and nations' health. They talked about not so much about pandemics. They want us to think that this is just about pandemics. But if you look at the language they use in these amendments, and I'm sure it will be the same way in this new pandemic treaty that they want to bring up in 2 years. It's that they don't talk so much about pandemics in the verbiage. They talk about public health emergencies. Public health emergencies. You think about the wide swath of issues that could be fit into that pigeonhole. They could bring up anything from climate change to gun violence to, drug interdiction, any number of things. Almost anything could be deemed a public health crisis, and then that would bring in the United Nations, World Health Organization, to tell your government, your national government, how to deal with that so-called emergency, that public health emergency. And so I really feel like we did dodge a bullet. Maybe Satan's plan will be pushed back by a couple of years. I don't know, but we do need to remain vigilant and watch where the next move of the globalists will be. Will they pivot away from the health issue, since that didn't work, and try to take another, try to come at us from another angle? We have the issue of World War III that's out there, right?
Yeah.
And we know that they also work through wars. It was after World War I that they tried to set up the League of Nations, and that failed, largely due to the U.S. Senate, which back in 1921, we still had patriots in the U.S. Senate. Now, not so much. So after World War II, they tried again, and that was how we ended up with the United Nations and the World Health Organization and the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and all of these global bodies that seek to water down or eventually to destroy national sovereignty. And we know that's Satan's plan. God ordained nations, right? Yeah. And so naturally, Satan hates nations and has been warring against nations ever since. It started at the Tower of Babel, and where he tried to unite all the people groups together and build a tower up to the heavens, and God said no way. He scrambled the nations, and he scrambled the languages, so they couldn't communicate with each other. And then they were scattered into various different parts of the world. And Satan has been trying ever since to erect a new Tower of Babel. And he's relentless. And we know who wins in the end. But they're coming at us, make no mistake. They're coming at us from every angle.
Yes. Well, the World Health Organization, of course, apart from the US government, is funded. Second biggest funder is Bill Gates Foundation,
correct.
Bill and Melinda Gates. So, anything that they do is nefarious for a start. I know New Zealand and Israel both supported that horrible amendments. So I'm glad neither of
that was another good silver lining about the whole thing. I think we found out which nations are ready and raring to go for global government. Yeah. They are chomping at the bit to give up their sovereignty and create a global monstrosity.
Yes.